I can actually deliver to all of that. Now some of you may be thinking, I've paid a bunch of money to come to DigiX and I'm about to listen to a guy dressed as a fruit salad. Well, it's Tech Week this week, and that, to me, it's all about celebrating new, successful innovation. Now, to me, that's less about improving how we currently do business, and it's more about creating business models that are made possible, or new business models that are made possible via new innovation. It's not about improving, it's about being different. Now, if I wore a suit and a nice tie, I would have been improving on the classic but kind of trendy startup attire, where it's t-shirt and blazer. But instead, I decided this morning I was going to be a bit different, and I was going to dress as a fruit salad. And for the rest of this talk, I want you to think about how you could apply conversational AI to your business so that you can be different. Not improve, but be different. So yeah, my name's Mike. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of JRNY, which is an insurance distribution or artificial intelligence distribution tool. Now, while that isn't strictly conversational AI, that was where we started, and we have a bunch of customers that we still service in that space, and we'll continue to work in that space because it's fun, because it's cool. So, with that being said, let's get started. It's a green button. Yeah, there we go. So put your hands up if you ever had a frustrating customer experience. Yeah, everyone in the room's has a bad customer experience. Now, for a lot of us, whatever business we're also in, we know our customers are having a bad experience at some point along the way. And the data tells us that our customers are having a bad experience at this particular point in their customer journey, because that is where they drop off. So what we do about it in a digital sense is we go, let's add some text copy to our website, and that's going to fix that. And we essentially try to improve that particular area rather than trying to be different. We try to increase the speed of the horse and cart rather than thinking, hang on, what if I make a car? What if I build a Tesla? So conversational AI potentially gives you the ability to build that Tesla. I need to push this one too. So what exactly is conversational AI? Rather than just explaining it, let's show it. What's supposed to happen is I press play, and this will also work, so fingers crossed that happens. But to give you a bit of brief background, that's myself and my co-founder Ben, and this is... Does everyone have insurance in this room? Most people have insurance? The experience is often pretty rubbish. Forgive me if you're an insurance provider, but that's just the reality. Now, with this type of technology, this is from a demo perspective, obviously. But you're able to hang on, let's just show you how. So that there was, hopefully just stay blank, that's fine. 90 seconds to purchase your travel insurance. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the background. We're pulling data from other various sources, so you don't have to ask the tremendous amount of questions. The paperwork is being emailed through to, in this case, Ben in the background. So that's not actually, it's not something that you have to do there and then. You try call up some insurance companies, you're on the go, you're like, man, I've just got this opportunity, I have to travel quite quickly. You don't want to be sitting on your computer sorting it out or jumping on the phone talking to somebody. And if you try and do that after 6 p.m. in most places in this country, you'll get a response saying, please call back tomorrow. And so you can't actually get anything done quickly. So that is a much better customer experience. So what exactly is conversational AI? Now this is quite a good summary by IBM, who's actually one of JRNY's partners. So conversational AI is a type of artificial intelligence that enables software to understand and interact with people naturally using spoken or written language. Cool. So, in other words, it's a way for people to interact with machine, or machines interact with people. And the way we see it is there's kind of three forms that they can take. There's text-based, which probably a majority of you are familiar with. It can look similar to Facebook Messenger. It can be the little chat widget that pops up on the side of the website, and it's the engine that fuels that interface, whereby something's interacting with you that isn't a human, and usually it would help with some specific use case. There's the voice interaction, which you just saw on screen, and I didn't make it in time today, but I think you would have seen some form of Face Me demo, and that would have shown like the digital avatar. And so there's sort of those three components of potential conversational AI. You may have even heard of that thing called chatbots. We actually have a swear jar at JRNY when anyone says the word chatbot, because it's kind of 2016, and it also usually evokes like kind of a negative connotation, because chatbots usually only answer frequently asked questions, but not even like contextual frequently asked questions, just some questions. And it can usually be kind of a bad experience. So try to stem away from that, and if you can, remove chatbots from conversational AI, put it over there. That's like a little automation tool you can use, and it can be useful, don't get me wrong, but a digital assistant in the form of text, voice, or digital avatar can be far more effective. So why would we even go down this path in the first place? So the overarching thing that we need to be thinking about here is the customer experience. So you really want to improve the customer experience. You want to be different because you want the customer to absolutely love you. You do that, the first thing that you're going to have happen is you're going to be able to increase the conversion and acquisition. Either you're lowering acquisition costs, or you're increasing the amount of customers you're actually acquiring. And then you're going to be able to decrease the cost to serve these customers. And again, it depends on where you're applying the conversational AI, but this is the type of thing that can occur. And thirdly, that's almost the reason why you want to do this, is you want to exceed customer expectation, because that's what customers want now. They don't want necessarily just what you're saying you're going to provide them. They want you to go one step further. And so now we're going to touch on why that last point is the case. So consumers expect personalization. 59% of consumers say tailored engagement based on past interactions is important to winning their business. Now, unless you have 4 or 5 customers, if you have to remember all these past interactions and get a really clear picture of who an individual is, and then be able to act accordingly all the time, that's almost impossible without using some form of AI. And in this particular case, that's where a digital assistant can be so helpful and powerful, as long as it's able to hold context. So, for example, I just badmouth chatbots. So the chatbot equivalent is, when is my bill due, or how much is my bill going to be? That's probably an easy one. How much is my bill going to be? Chatbot will say, well, redirect you to this particular page where you can log in and then you see for yourself. A digital assistant will tell you. So it's going to give you context on information that is actually yours. That's that personalization, and consumers expect that. Consumers expect immediate responses in real time. And 66% of millennial consumers expect, real-time responses, versus 62% of baby boomers and traditionalists. I don't actually know what the last little bit means, but or the traditionalists anyway. But that's basically the same thing. Most people want real-time responses. And again, if you're going to provide this, you can't do this via a human arsenal. You have to use some form of technology to help you get there. And that's with an omni-channel experience. Does everyone know what omni-channel means, or who knows what omni-channel means? So some people know what omnichannel means, but it's basically being able to interact with a given company in different mediums. And this stat is, I think, pretty impressive, that 70% of people want to use messaging apps to talk to businesses. Yet 1% of us actually allow consumers to do so. By messaging, I didn't even answer the omnichannel thing. You want to be able to talk to your customers within those messaging apps. So within Facebook, once WeChat becomes a a thing in New Zealand, which it probably will, it would make sense to be accessible there, potentially via SMS. You want to have the same type of dialogue going via email and also online. So you want to be able to be present in different places, and the same information be able to be present on desktop versus mobile. So that's sort of what I mean when I talk about omnichannel. And lastly, consumers expect consistency. So again, if we go back to the comparison between getting a human to do, or a network of humans to be very consistent with their responses and their tailored messaging versus getting a digital assistant to do so, digital assistant's going to get it right every time because they are programmed to do so. And 73% of consumers expect that consistent experience. So actually getting into the nitty-gritty of how we do that. So hopefully we're all in agreement by now that we should probably start our first AI project. Maybe the digital system is the thing we want to do. And we want to be different. So now we're going to get into how we actually go about doing that. So in our experience, everything stems from this. And it's not too dissimilar to what some of the previous presenters have talked about how they went about building their businesses. So we want to start with the business objective. So what do we actually want to achieve here? And then what experience do we want to provide to our customers? And then what are some of the KPIs that we can associate with this? Because we want to be able to measure something, right? We want to be data-driven. We want to make sure that this experience that we think is going to work actually does. And then once we've sorted that, we can start to look at, okay, and it's almost one and the same, that you're looking at the customer objectives and the customer persona, like who is our customer? I mean, that we just touched on, like you need to know those guys inside out and how exactly they behave, and therefore how exactly you can interact and sell and service that customer. And that comes into the channel play. So what channels do you actually want to be present in? And then a third part to that is, do we have the capability in-house? There's a whole ramble I can go on about that. But basically, you could do it in-house or you could do it with a provider. And then how do you actually select that provider to help you start your artificial intelligence journey? And then actually do something about it. So choosing a channel. So if we relate it back to, you've got the business objectives, you got the customer objectives, what you want your customer to experience. You know who the customer is. You can start looking at how you want this AI project to interact with an individual. Maybe it's via the website. Maybe you've found that actually our customers genuinely will interact with us via our website. Not only now, but you think that in the future that is where they're going to continually interact with you based on like a demographic. You go with that type of option. As we touched on before, you probably want to encompass some form of messaging app. Slack, much more an internal thing than external. But you've got your WhatsApp, your Facebook Messenger, WeChat, those being the big ones. Being present on those is going to help you grow your business. I don't know if you've seen more of an update recently, but now ads are starting to display in Facebook Messenger. Can you as a business take that and help grow your business by just being in the apps that your customers already are in? It's a pretty easy win. That's what I don't really want to digress, but make an ad, put it in Facebook Messenger, and when they click in Facebook Messenger, get them to be sending you a message. If you've got a digital assistant on the back of that, bingo. And then the third option there is like a white label chat. So you could either put that within your own application if you already have an app. You could put that on your website. It's like putting an SDK plugin on the current digital touchpoints that you already have. And then what type of vehicle do you want to use? So there's like a little picture of like a text-based assistant. So that's a no, that's all right. That is the InsurTech assistant that we created a few months ago. So just a picture of that. So it's text-based because there are occasions when, say, it's going to be great to be able to talk to the digital human. So like you go into a kiosk, you want to talk to a person, but you want to have these things all over the show. Having something like FaceMe is wicked, right? So you go with the digital avatar. Some of those people are on the go though, and so it's like, well, how do we make sure that person X, we really want to attract person X, but they're always rushing around. They're busy people. They're not going to come into our store, so they're not going to interact with this great innovation that we've got. Let's also do a text version, and so they can actually. They can pull out their phone and they can be, like most people do these days. You're walking down the road and you bump into people because they're going like this. You have that interaction with people and you actually being the cause of people having their phone out, but at least you're able to interact with your customers and you're doing it through a messaging service. And the third one, which you saw a demo of before, is via voice. So you're going through the likes of a Google Home or Amazon Alexa, or you're piggybacking on the back of Siri. And then you're able to interact with voice, and some of the metrics have been touched on earlier today, but that is where consumers will be. I don't know if you see teenagers walking around today, but they can't be bothered typing buttons. They just send little voice memos to each other. They hold down the recording button, they send those memos off. So that is where people will be. They'll be like, oh, okay, so yeah, I need to travel. I want travel insurance. Hey Google, can I please purchase travel insurance? And away you go. And so then it becomes about rating within that particular medium. So we've decided on the medium we want to go through. We've decided on the vehicle we want to use. We've got our business objectives. And then we're like, okay, who do you want us to help? Or who do we need others to help? Now there's kind of 4 different types of assistance that you can use to help you get there. So there's the out-of-the-box solution. So this is your login online, and there was a bit touched on this earlier today. Login online and build your own and deploy it quickly. Now these can be a great way to test out something. So we're talking about like a drag and drop tool. If we're talking specifically digital assistants. So yeah, they're low cost, they're fast to deploy. But if you've never done it before, if you've never built a conversation, you can fail quite quickly. So just to give you a bit of brief background, when JRNY started 3 years ago, we were an off-the-shelf tool, build it your own chatbot. Didn't work. Didn't work because people don't know how to build conversations. And it's just like, a good example of that is you don't get your builder to build the bathroom or do the plumbing. You get a plumber to do that. And so, in a particular organization, you are the builders. It's a bit of a weird analogy, but let's just go with it. You are the builders. Get other people to help you in particular areas. Great way to test it out, but in terms of making it a commercially viable thing where you can now be different, not necessarily the best way to go. An industry-specific partner, that's where JRNY plays. I'll touch on that in a second. The other side of the scale, though, is like you're in-house. You're building this yourself, and that can be a great way to sometimes test stuff and to get a bit of excitement about delivering some form of artificial intelligence assistant of some sort. But again, if it's your first time doing something like this, it still pays to bring in people from the outside. And then there's your bespoke agency builds. And that can be a great way because they can give a high level of customization. There's a whole bunch of tools that they'll be using to help you achieve your goals. They can be quite a high costing model and it can take a while to get right, but it's still obviously a good way to go, or can be a good way to go. And then there's that fourth option there, which is like an industry specific partner, and that's where someone like JRNY plays, where actually we have that. It's not just the technology knowledge that you end up having and bring to the table, but it's the technology, it's the combination of the technology and the industry knowledge. And when you start to combine that, it means you can create a solution much more quickly at a cost-effective price, and the technology is actually built for that particular use case. All babies start the same, but as you start to move forward, it can become, choosing that industry-specific partner can be quite pivotal to your success in the future. There's a few other things that we didn't touch on when you're starting your first AI project, when you're deciding that you're going to be different. The conversational design part to your project is pretty key. That's just making sure that your language resonates with your customer again. Getting a copywriter to help you out with that type of development is pretty key, and just making sure that your customer is able to get the information that they need as efficiently as possible. So if you can pull information from other areas without having to ask these 30 questions to give them a quote, then you do it. Where you're going to integrate this with, we've obviously kind of touched on that, and then the analytics. That's something we haven't touched on. So once you start building these AI projects, you will be in a position to understand your customer like you've never understood them before. That's because every conversation is personalized, and is in a one-to-one relationship. So you're not looking at heat maps. You're looking at, actually, we know that this customer fell off at this particular point in this conversation, got lost, decided they didn't like our service and they were gone. And actually, that happened to 1,000 other people. So what is going wrong in this particular area? Can we transform this? Do we find that we actually need to start offering a different product because people seem to want X, Y, Z? And now we've figured all this stuff out. So we've figured out, okay, we've got this, we know what we want to do, we know who we want to do it with, we started to do a bit of a design, we need to pilot something. And this has been touched on as well today, is that you have to start. And we see a lot of companies, actually we were talking earlier with some people about, we're a small company, we've been around for 3 years, but we typically serve large organizations. Our time is, our short period of time is different to their short period of time. And what we see is that the lack of deciding to pilot isn't going to affect you tomorrow. It's going to hinder you in 6 months, in 18 months' time, when some of your competition have started to test yesterday and started a pilot yesterday. And they're learning, and they're iterating, and they're improving. And suddenly it becomes too late, and you become like a Kodak. So I'm not wanting to instill like a sense of fear, but starting now is pretty key. And being okay to fail, and being okay that first iteration, you have those business objectives. You're wanting to have this particular outcome. That might not be the case. Once you develop something, once you deploy in this case, a digital assistant, you will find people will interact with it in a particular way, and in some cases you can't predict how they're going to interact. And you may find things that are just gold, which you had no idea at the start. One of our customers that piloted some of our technology last year, they initially were wanting to increase their sales, and they were wanting to book test drives through this particular digital assistant. What they found was that people were actually looking for car parts. They weren't wanting to book a test drive. I mean, they did have some of that going on, obviously, but the main ROI that came out of it was, we're not giving enough information to our customers. We need to put this type of information through our digital channels so they can find what they're looking for. And that was like a hidden ROI. So to some, that might have been seen as, we've built the wrong thing. It's like, no, we've started and we've put something out there, and we're able to learn from that and iterate and improve. And so once we've done that, we're able to internally get other stakeholders to buy into what we're doing, or to what you're doing, because they can see the thing. It's not just a concept anymore. It's working. It's called Mandy, and it helps you value your home or whatever it may be. And they're like, well, we could do this and this with this as well. I was like, absolutely. And so you can start to build out the functionality of that digital assistant, and more people get excited about it. They'll add more resource to it, and then they can build out the technology from there. And so you're helping to get teammates bought in, and you're able to get more funding and resource allocated. And with that, I'm basically out of time, but I'll just touch on one more thing. So today, digital assistants are the number one thing for consumers to message brands, and 70% of consumers will choose messaging over calling if given the choice. So providing that is pretty pivotal, and that digital assistants are set to save businesses $8 billion in the next couple of years. So if you are looking to cut costs in any way, doing this type of thing makes perfect sense. And a 14 to 18% boost in customer satisfaction when you deploy this type of thing. Again, day one, it's not going to do everything you want it to do. And that's okay, because eventually you're going to get to there. So that's all I have for today. I hope this has inspired you in some way to be different rather than just trying to improve. And if you want to chat about any of this stuff, I'm more than happy to talk at lunchtime. Drop me an ad on LinkedIn or Twitter as well, and more than happy to take the conversation online. Cheers.